Hello everybody, hope everybody had a great weekend. Alright, I'm Kranth and I'm going to teach you something today about fundamentals of computers, and in fundamentals of computers we are going to go deep about the operating systems, and that is going to be functions of operating system. So when I speak about the functions of computers and functions of operating system, I want you guys to have a revision on what we have been learning from the last couple of days. Yes, we have been learning about operating systems and how many kinds of operating systems were there. So today we are going to learn about functions of operating system. So when I say functions of operating system, yes, we were in the last class we were learning about how many types of operating systems are there and what are the job that they are going to do. But today we are going to learn in deep what is that, and because of operating system what are the advantages and disadvantages, and we have so many internal things that we can learn today in the fundamentals of computers. Yes, so before I say ahead and before I speak something, I just want to give a small advice for each and every person who is actually sitting in front of the video right now. People, just remember one thing, though we keep learning new things, we intend to forget the basics of the computers. But these classes are the most important things for you, because when you actually intend to learn basics, you feel that we already know all this, but when some question is being asked to you, or at one particular situation where you know the question but you won't be able to answer because you know the basics but in your own language, but when you try to communicate in that language it won't happen. Alright, so I want you to always put a basic idea about the the basics of computers and their fundamentals. So when I say fundamentals of computers, I always want you to remember what were you been learning from the last couple of days. Alright, so now let us go with the slide, fundamentals of computers. So let us see what we have in the fundamentals of computer. So when I say functions of operating system, I just want you to see the slide. Functions of an operating system. There are many functions those are performed by the operating system, but the main goal of operating system is to provide the interface between the user and the hardware. Means provides the interface for working on the system by the user. An operating system is a software which performs all the basic tasks like file management, memory management, process management, handling input and output, and controlling peripheral devices such as disk drives and printers. Alright, so now when I speak about the functions of the operating system, the other day we already have spoke about it, but when I speak about the operating system, I only want you to remember that in operating system, the most important thing that you will find is obviously the relation between the user and the hardware, that is the computer. So always remember that whenever I am talking about the functions of an operating system makes sure that it obviously tries to put an interface or put in basic conversation or basic interface. I mean, it makes sure that it have a proper interface for the user and the hardware of the system. So this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I speak about the functions of the computer, because functions of a computer, especially in the first point we were been learning, see, without an operating system always remember that there is no interface, because I will tell you OS is operating system. For example, if you drive a ship, what is the most important thing? The steering wheel, isn't it? Also the car, steering wheel. See, you can put the petrol in the car, you can service the car, you can use it in a very nice way, but what is the means if there is no steering in the car? How will you operate the car? So that is the same thing I just want to tell you here. Operating system is a wheel of the entire system, because it is the relation, or it provides a basic interface to understand what is a computer, the interface you require. I mean, a hall is important to dance, right? So it provides the hall for us to understand the computer. So this is the most important thing that you have to remember. And what are the basic functions of the operating system? So let us see the slide once again. If you can see, we have in the second point, where if you can see, we have file management, memory management, process management, handling input and output, and controlling peripheral devices such as disk drives and printers. And now, when I speak about basic tasks, we always have to remember that whenever a computer have its basic task, I mean, the operating system will always have the most important thing, that is to operate the basic tasks of file management, memory management, process management, handling input and output. Obviously, you have inputs like keyboard, mouse, where you will be giving input to the computer, and these basic tasks are being handled over by the operating system. And then we have something called as output, where you can say whatever you give it to the computer, whatever command you give it to the computer will try to take all the commands that you have been giving, make sure that it calculates and manipulates through the binary language, and then what does it do? It gives back the output on the screen, and that screen is the operating system. So that is what you just have to remember whenever I speak about the functions of the operating system. So now let us see another flow chart of the operating system. An operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the user and the computer hardware and controls the execution of all kinds of programs. For example, if you can see here, we have user 1, user 2 and user infinity, that is user n. If you can see, user 1 gives the command, user 2 gives the command, user n also gives the command. But the software, that is operating system, takes system softwares and application software into the operating system, and that operating systems give the hardware. When I say about the hardware, we have CPU, that is central processing unit, RAM, random access memory, and I/O. Alright, so interface office, which you can have to remember, because when I speak about the user 1, user 2, and it can be so many users, they basically give an input to the system software, that is the operating system. I mean, whatever software you are using or whatever software you can find on the monitor, you will be basically opening the software. For example, let us take Google Chrome. Google Chrome is an application, isn't it? So once you go to the Google Chrome, give some command, or if you search, the Google Chrome will give it to the operating system, and operating system will give it to the hardware. When I speak about the hardware, it is CPU and the hard disk and I/O. All these again revert back with the commands, and we get that output on the screen. So that is what I have mentioned on the slide. So let us see once again the slide. Yes, an operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the user and the computer hardware and controls the execution of all kinds of program. So if you can see, an operating system is a program that acts as an interface. Yes, it is an interface between the user and the computer hardware. For example, who is the user? I am the user. So when I say I am the user, whatever I am using on the monitor or whatever I am using by the help of the computer, it acts as an mediator. I mean, for example, there will be a person between two persons to understand or to communicate. So that communication job is being actually done by the operating system. So operating system plays a major role on communicating my language to the hardware of the computer. So what a hardware do? Obviously stores and give the output back to the monitor. When I see the monitor, I will get the output, and that is what the communication that is being done by the help of the operating system. So this is what you have to remember when I speak about the functions of the computer or the operating system when it comes to the computers. Alright. So now let us see functions of an operating system in deep. Let us see the slide once again. if you can see the slide, we have following are some of important functions of an operating system: memory management, processor management, device management, file management, security, control over system performance, job accounting, error detecting aids, coordination between other software and users. So, these are some important functions of an operating system. Yes, I have said that interface between user and the hardware. So, when I speak about the interface, what all do we have in the interface? So, if you can keep the heading of interface of an operating system, if it's possible, if you are writing, then put a heading of interface, and under interface put all these points, that is memory management, processor management, device management, file management, security, control over system performance, job accounting, error detecting aids, coordination between other software and users. So, these are some of the interface programs that is being done, or that is being actually played by the operating system. So, these are the following points that you have to remember whenever I speak about the functions of an operating system, especially in your monitor or in your computer. Alright, so now let us see another slide which we have the flow chart on what exactly does this do. Yes, look at in between, that is functions of an operating system, and you have a dark image on top of it, that is provide and manage hardware resources. So, this is the most important thing that the operating system do. And towards the left you can see the picture is little lighter, that is provide basic software to make computer usable. You know, this is what it does, but not that much. And yes, towards the right again you can provide, you have provide an interface between user and machine. So, this is also one of the important things that the operating system do. And now when it comes to the down, I have lighting the picture more because these are the functions that are done little outboard when it comparative to the inboard. We have provide utility software for maintenance to be done. Yes, it is the job of operating system, but it maintains once in a blue moon or very rare. And then we have provide an interface between application, software and the machine. So, this is also something that it rarely does. And the last but one, which is very lighter, that is provide security for data on the system. It will provide the security for the data that you have in your system, but if you can see, there are hacking systems, there are hackers in the world who can hack your data. So, an operating system is capable of storing the data, but not extremely good into it, because it is our job and responsibility to save our data in a proper way. So, this is a flow chart of the functions of an operating system. So, always remember that. So, now I just want to tell you something about the functions of the operating system as per the flow chart. When I say functions of an operating system as per the flow chart, remember that the most important role of the functions of an operating system would be provide and manage hardware resources. And we have little less points to be seen. Provide basic software to make computer useful. Provide an interface between user and machine, which it does. So, first always remember, the first function of an operating system will start with providing and managing hardware resources, and then it gives providing an interface between user and machine, and then it provides an interface between application software and the machine, and then it goes provide security for the data on the system. And then if you can see, provide utility software for the maintenance to be done, and then you have provide basic software to make computer useful. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the functions of an operating system. And now we have functions of an operating system. In that we have memory management. What is the memory management? People just only remember one thing: if there is no memory management in the fundamentals of computers, there is no computer, because half or the entire job of the computer plays a major role only with the memory. If yes, operating system is a part and everything, different kinds of computers, inputs, outputs, all are important, but without a memory and the calculation, the matrix won't happen. So, once the matrix is not happening, the system will not be working. So, always remember that to have a matrix calculation, this is the most important thing that you have to remember. So, now I will take you with the memory management. Memory management refers to management of primary memory or main memory. Main memory is a large array of words or bytes where each word or byte has its own address. If you can see the image, we have system memory. In system memory, we have operating system and the user. And also we have unused memory. So, from the operating system to the processor, we have boundary register, and the meaning of the boundary register is a user process cannot access memory addresses below the addresses specified by the boundary register. So, boundary register plays a most important role. Now, I will just tell you what is the meaning of it. So, when I speak about the management of the memory, we have something called the internal bytes or the internal memory or the primary or the main memory. When I speak about the internal memory, you have primary memory and the main memory. The primary memory is obviously used by the operating system and the main memory is obviously used by the user. And there is something called as unused data which is not being used till now. So, when I speak about the unused memory, that is being saved as usual, and then when the user memory is obviously being operated by the user, and then we have operating system where the operating system have a personal space hidden, at the process boundary register, and the boundary register is simply where it provides the registers and the IDs for each license that you have to remember. So, these are the most important things that we have to calculate in the memory management. Okay. So, this is one of the most important things that we learned today in the fundamentals of computers at the functions of operating system. Now, let me take you to the next level of operating system, that is, if you can see the slide, we have main memory provides a fast storage that can be accessed directly by the CPU. For a program to be executed, it must be in the main memory. An operating system does the following activities for memory management. Keeps tracks of primary memory. That means what part of it are in use by whom, what part are not in use. In multi-programming, the OS decides which process will get memory, when and how much. Allocates the memory when a process requests it to do so. Deallocates the memory when a process no longer needs it or has been terminated. And now, when we are speaking about the main memory of the computer, main memory does all these following sentences that I have said right now. So, when I speak about them, I just want you to remember the main memory is the most important thing that plays a vital role in the operating system. So, if you can see the slide once again, we have mentioned that main memory provides a fast storage. If you can see, it is a fast storage that can be accessed directly by the CPU. CPU have the capability of accessing this storage. And why is it? Because so many people will give so many commands, those are programs, and these have the direct programming to the computer. It must be in the main memory. Obviously, all these programs should have to be in the main memory. An operating system does the following activities for memory management. What does the operating system does this for the memory management? I will tell you. Keep tracks of memory, the primary memory. For example, a primary memory, that is whatever you have stored in the hard disk, these are something which will be taken care of it. The main memory will make sure that the primary memory is being used by whom and by whom, like if at all I am used or somebody else is used, everything will be tracked by the main memory. And then we have, when there is a multi-programming happening, the OS decides which process will get memory when and how much. So, when there is a multi-programming, that is I am using it, I am using internet, I am using the processor timings, and I am just clicking the internal interface and doing some settings in the computer. So, the some settings of the computers are obviously going to the interface. So, when I am disturbing the interface, obviously the system should be able to cope up with all the disturbances that I do in the system. So, this OS decides what to do at what time. And the third point is allocates the memory when a process requests it to do so. For example, we have been using a lot of memory, and if we ask for the more memory and if we can be able to control the memory, yes, the memory can also be given by the main memory. And the last one is deallocates the memory when a processor no longer needs it to have been terminated. And now it just relocates or dislocates, or it won't give any job to the memory when processor no longer needs it to has been terminated. For example, if the processor is no longer been and have to be terminated and has been terminated, this memory will make sure that there will be no jobs given to the particular program or particular machine. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the functions of the computer. In fundamentals of computer, we are learning about the operating system. And now let us see process management. What is process management? So let us go with the slide once again. We have process management, that is in multi-programming environment. The OS decides which process gets the processor when and or how much time, as I already have said you. But when the OS is deciding which process get the processor when and for how much time, the entire function is called process scheduling. An operating system does the following activities for processor management. Keeps tracks of processor and status of process. The program responsible for this task is known as traffic controller. Allocates the processor CPU to the process. The same again. Deallocates processor when a process is no longer required. So when I have said you that multi-programming environment, when the OS is actually been sharing few things at what time to do, there is a proper sharing things of the interface which is happening, and this can be called as process scheduling. So always remember that this will be called as the process scheduling, because whenever and whatever the machine is trying to calculate things, or whenever it is trying to give some process to some particular advanced categories, this is called process scheduling, because this is what actually an operating system does. And yes, when the operating system makes sure that this particular situation or the process needs to be gone to the processor, it allocates some time, and that is what called as process scheduling. Process, scheduling to one particular situation. So this is what is another job of the process management. So again, whatever I have mentioned in the memory, main memory, the entire process which is happening is called as a process management. So this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I speak about the process management. And people, I just want to tell you one of the most important thing. When I speak about the main memory and the process management, we have the process management more involved in the main memory, because everything that happens as a process management is from the main memory to the computer, that is the hardware. So this is something that you have to not get confused. Now let me show you a flow chart of the process management in the operating system. So let us see the slide once again. We have new, that can be process, admitted, ready, scheduler dispatch to running, and then terminated. It can also be exit. And we have new, admitted to ready, and once if the process is terminated, when it is running, it will come to waiting, and then it will be ready again, and then it will go back to running again, and it will exit. So this is first I want to create a clear idea on event completion. That is, when you give a command, when you give a process, let us not put waiting, let us not see. First, when we have the new process, it will be admitted to the processor, and once it is ready, it will obviously move to running, and from running it will get exited to the main thing. And once the file is terminated, it will show back to running, and then waiting, and then we have again ready. From there it will again go back. It is a cycle, which generation of the process is going to happen and the lot of uses are going to happen in this. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the flow chart of the operating system. And now let us see the device management. What is device management and how exactly it is being used, or what is that we are going to look in the device management, because everybody wants to know about the device management. Device management. An operating system manages device communication via their respective drivers. It does the following activities for device management. I will repeat the sentence once again. An operating system manages device communication via their respective drivers. It does the following activities for device management. Now, let me take you with the points. Keep tracks of all devices. That can be program responsible for this task, which we can call as I/O controller. Decides which process gets the device when and for how much time. Allocates the device in the efficient way. And then we have deallocates devices. So, when I speak about device management, you just have to remember an operating system manages device communication. You know, always remember, whenever you are giving an input or whenever you are making sure that you are giving some input to the computer, always remember that these devices are being controlled by the operating system. For example, you have an input followed up by the keyboard to the computer, and who does this job? Basically, an operating system will understand what you exactly want from the computer and gives the command back to the processor, and then the I/O controller will make sure that the command is being taken and calculates the binary language and then give it back to the command operating system, where indirectly or directly you will get the output once you press something on your keyboard or mouse. So, these are the most important things that you have to remember when I speak about the device management and its function. Now, let us see the slide once again. If we can see the slide, we have second point that is being mentioned as decides which process gets the device when and for how much time. Allocates the device in the efficient way, and then it sometimes also stop making the devices work. I will give you a very small example. For example, you are using a system, you did not like your keyboard and you have suddenly changed the keyboard. Once you suddenly change the keyboard, the keyboard will not be actually taken by your computer. Once if it is not being taken by your computer, what does that mean? That means your computer is actually not supporting the device that you are being connected, isn't it? So, that is being not done by the computer, that is being done by your operating system, because operating system makes sure which device work, which device do not work in your computer. So, let us see this last point once again, if I can show you. Deallocates devices. So, what does this mean? Deallocate devices simply means that when you have something mentioned or when you have something that is connected to the computer or the system, the only thing that the device management do in the operating system is it checks the device whether it is useful for the computer or not, and then if it is useful, it obviously gives the command to process that forward by using it, or if it does not seem or does not feel like taking the device into the computer, it obviously will not allow it to work in your computer. So, this is the job that will be done by the operating system. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the operating system. Yes. So, now let us go with the next slide, that is what are device management or what does it accept and dislike it. let us see in that. If you can see the slide, we have application settings that is being used by the operating system again. We have disk drive, we have mouse, we have printer, and we have keyboard and also monitor. Taking the inputs and operating, of course, when you connect to the disk drive, obviously it shows what to do, what not to do. Mouse, yes, the same, whatever you input, control the mouse, the system will be able to follow the commands of it. And then the printer, you want to use a printer, you have to give it through the input, and once you give it through the input, the printer will give you an output. So what is that? Who is helping for that? Operating system is helping out. And then we have to remember the monitor. The monitor is also very important when I speak about that. A monitor, whatever it displays for you, is the most important thing that you have to remember, because every output is being showed through a display for you, and that display is being functioned through an operating system. Whatever colors, whatever interface that you look in your monitor is all through the operating system. So these are few of the things that you have to remember in the device management. And now the operating system have another thing, that is file management. Yes, we do keep a lot of files in our operating system and storage, isn't it? So what does this files happening, or how is this files are actually being operated? Through the operating system. So now let us see the slide. A file system is normally organized into directories for easy navigation and usage. These directories may contain files and other directions. An operating system does the following activities for file management. And what are these points? Keeps track of information, location, uses, status, etc. The collective facilities are often known as file system. Decides who gets the resources, allocates the resources, and deallocates the resources. So now, when I speak about file management, people, I just want you to listen very carefully. File management is one of the most important things in the operating system and the fundamentals of computers, because yes, you want to look at a movie that you bought in a pen drive. So once you install the pen drive, that is device management. Once you do the device management, what do? You do the file management, isn't it? Store the data into your computer. And what is the storing called as? File management. Because this file management is always done by the operating system, and it have the basic rules that they have to follow once the file is being allocated for the computer. And it keeps tracks about all the files that you have, and this obviously will be called as the file system, because if you go to program files, or if you go to program system in the C drive, all the files will be stored in the format of the binary system according to the language that the computer will understand. Because anytime you go to any of your stored files, and you can open it and you can review it or redo it, or you can delete it, or you can view it, anything that is possible in the file system. Because if there are no files, obviously you won't be interested to open your computer, isn't it? As of now, everybody wants their files to be stored in the hard disk or your machines, because every time you want to go back to the flash through of your memories, you just go and recollect your memories that are being stored in the computer. So the file management in the operating system and the fundamentals of computers are basically being used by your user, that is you. Alright. So this operating system will make sure that the file management will control all the files. Now let us see a basic flow chart of the file management. Let us show the slide. we have full chart here where fixed length records will be commanding to variable length records, and from there we have sequential or direct file access. From there we have indexed storage. From there we have non-contiguous storage, and then we have contiguous storage. So, this is the basic flow chart of file management. Remember that, or try to make note of it if it is possible, because there will be a few particular situations in especially software job or a hardware job when you go for, and they will be asking you to define and design view, or they might ask you a basic flow chart of the file management, because this is a flow chart that you have to remember to have a quick understanding about the file management in the operating system of the fundamentals of computer. I will repeat it once again: fixed length records which pass the command to variable length records, which indeed make sure that the sequential or direct file access is being displayed on the monitor, and then we have contiguous storage which gives to the non-contiguous storage. We have obviously contiguous storage and non-contiguous storage, and we have indexed storage, different kinds of storages, and that has been again sequential or direct file access. You have direct file access to both the fixed length records and variable length records, and you have direct access for the contiguous storage, non-contiguous storage and indexed storage. Important, non-important, and particular storages. That is what the meaning of contiguous storages are. So, this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I speak about the file management. And let us see some other important activities that the operating system also do, because we have learned about device management, we have known about memory management. First was the memory management that we have learned in the operating system, and then we have learned about the device management in the operating system, and then we have learned about the file management in the operating system. So, apart from these three, we have another things that I just want to display today for you in the next slide. Let us see the slide. We have other important activities, that is, following are some of the important activities that an operating system performs: security and control over system performance. So, now let me take you with the security. By means of password and similar other techniques, it prevents unauthorized access to programs and data. What does this mean? When I speak about the security, people, you always have to remember you will be putting up some passwords for your systems and few of the files. For example, you had an important file that is being loaded in your computer. For example, you have bought home an amazing software, or you have all of your photos of your 10th class get together, and you do not want that to be displayed in front of the computer. For example, you have bought few pictures and you have stored it in your computer. When you have stored in the computer, you do not want anybody to see the pictures. What is that you are going to do? You are going to lock the pictures, isn't it? You are going to put all the photos into a folder and you are going to lock the folder. And who actually remembers this password? It is you. But when you give the command of the password to the file, that have to get open, isn't it? What if it does not open? Yes, it will open because of the operating system again. So, all these security systems, or if you can see, you will basically put a password for your computer. When it opens, a password situation will come where you have to enter the password, then only the system will open to the main page of the desktop. When you type a wrong password, it will not get accessed, and what is it happening over there? The operating system will be making sure that whatever commands that you are putting, or whatever security system that you are putting for your files, this security system of the operating system will make sure that only the user who have the right password will have the right to access the memory. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the security. So, now let us see the next the second point in the other important activities. In the other important activities, we have the other point as control over system performance. Obviously, people, when you install a virus or an antivirus in your computer, or when you get virus downloaded in your computer, or by mistake if you have the virus putting up the pressure for your computer not to get performed, you have the performance meters and you have the performance things that are being controlled by the operating system. Who does that? Obviously, the operating system, and it have a particular point called the controlling performance system. You know, it makes sure that it performs, or it makes the computer or the machineries that or the hardware of the CPU performs well because of the viruses, you know, or you know, once you didn't download the virus, it makes sure that the performance of the system won't get low, and that's when it displays the malware was being downloaded, or you know, you have a particular situation where you have the virus found in the computer and all. So, these are being controlled by the operating system, that you have to remember when I speak about the functions of the computer or the operating system. So, now let us go with the next slide. We have job accounting, that is keeping track of time and resources used by various jobs and users. Error detecting aids, production of dumps, traces, error messages and other debugging and error detecting aids. That is the virus what I am talking about. And you have coordination between other softwares and users, coordination and assignment of compilers, interpreters, assemblers and other software to the various users of the computer systems. So, this operating system will do the coordination between other softwares and users. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the functions of the operating system. Yes, the most important three things in the operating system that you have to remember is the main memory system, device management, and then we have file management. Apart from that, we had you know, like security, and we have controlling the performance of the system, and then we have job accounting, and then we have error detecting, and then we have coordination between the other softwares and the users. So, now let me show you the most important part of the operating system, and what is that? I want to show you a slide which have a very big picture now. What is this? MS-DOS. We call it as MS-DOS basically. And what does this mean? If you can see here, MS-DOS, short for Microsoft Disk Operating System. MS-DOS is a non-graphical command line operating system derived from 86 disk operating system that was created for IBM compatible computers. MS-DOS, originally written by Tim Peterson and introduced by Microsoft in August 1981, and was last updated in 1994 when MS-DOS 6.22 was released. MS-DOS allows the user to navigate, open and otherwise manipulate files on their computer from a command line instead of a GUI like Windows. So, now let me give you a basic idea of MS-DOS, because anyway you are going to have the software classes and you will be learning about the programs. But what does this MS-DOS does? First of all, I just want you to know the full form of MS-DOS, that is Microsoft Disk Operating System. And when I say It is a non-graphical command line in the operating system derived from 86 DOS. So, now let me tell you what does it basically do. It allows, if you can see here, we have the last points where I have said it allows the user to navigate, open and otherwise manipulate files on their computer from a command line. For example, you want to basically operate or give a command directly to the CPU instead of the operating system. What does you do? An operating system will make sure that you have the MS-DOS used by the user, and then you can give a command line where you can manipulate the workflow of the computer, and you can basically give a command instead of an operating system. That is well done, isn't it? So, you can basically you will be learning in all this programmings, and you have this MS, you have this .NET, C++, Java, where basically you will be writing programs and do this help. This MS-DOS is also some kind of situation where you can put a command line to make the interface work accordingly to you. That is what is a basic thing that you can make through the MS-DOS. So, let me show you a basic diagram and how this actually or let us go deep into MS-DOS. All right. So, let us see the slide once again. Today MS-DOS is no longer used, however, the command shell, more commonly known as the Windows command line, is still used by many users. The picture is to the right is an example of what an MS-DOS window, more appropriately referred to as the Windows command line, looks like running under Microsoft Windows. Of course, when you download the Microsoft and we have the MS-DOS command line flowed, this is the diagram how it actually looks. We remember in our old systems, isn't it, whenever we put on the system and we have a command prompt coming up, and then we have all this matrices flowing on, which we never know what all those are. So, basically this is MS-DOS and how it looks like, just remember that. Yes, nowadays it is not actually being used, but however the last point, we still have the Windows command line coming when you go for the C, or when you open the run in command, or you can you can basically go through by one of the situation command putting up in the run command. So, we have so many things, and we in deep, if we have to go through the MS-DOS, I just want to give another device. We have other devices through inputs, like for example, if you can go to the keyboard and put up something on the basic command line of the Windows, and we can get something to be mentioned there. So, let us go with the next point of the MS-DOS. Most computer users are only familiar with how to navigate Microsoft Windows using the mouse. Unlike Windows, MS-DOS is a command line and is navigated by using MS-DOS commands. For example, if you wanted to see all the files in a folder in Windows, you would double click the folder to open the folder in Windows Explorer. In MS-DOS, to view the same folder, you would navigate to the folder using the CD command and then list the files in that folder using the dir command. So, that is what I have said you. There is a particular situation where an operating system will be leading you to how to use the interface, but the MS-DOS have few command lines where you will directly be interfaced with, or you will be directly in loop with the CPU, and you will be commanding the CPU on what to basically do instead of the operating system. If you leave the operating system, you and the external parts of the computer or the internal parts of the computers can deal together to open up the files. For example, when you are interlinked with the operating system, if you want to see any files, you will obviously go through the mouse and double click on something so that you view the files. But if you want to go to the MS-DOS of your mouses are not working, your keyboards are not working, any of the input devices are not working, and if you want to go to the MS-DOS, obviously you can go through and check the files, and that is through the MS-DOS and the commands. So, that is what you just have to remember when I speak about the MS-DOS and its commands. So, let me show you the basic and the most important diagram of the MS-DOS. Here we go. So, when you put a command line here, see, if you can see in the top, we have welcome to the DOS 4.0, select program, and then you have drives mentioned here and the spaces of this. So, this is what? Instead of the double click on the mouse, this is what the command that you get, and to follow the MS-DOS is the most important and one of the part of the operating system that we can use it manually to check out. So people, what did you understood by all of these qualities of the operating system? Is it easy, isn't it? An operating system is an ocean where you can find everything and anything, all right? So MS-DOS is the most important thing in the last of the operating system, apart from the memory management, the device management, the file management, and we have so many important things like security and making your control system performances well, and then you have job accounting, and we have error detecting, that is virus, and then we have coordination between the other softwares and this. So apart from all this, MS-DOS is the most important thing which allows the user to have a manual operation to the command system. So that is what I just want to tell you people. So today we have learned about the functions of operating systems, and we have gone deep into the operating systems. I don't want you to get confused, and remember what we have learned on the today's class. And if possible, share this video for your friends, and make sure if anybody wants to know about the computers, yes, this video will obviously help them in understanding what is exactly the functions of the operating system is. So thank you so much for listening to the class, and we had a great day in having a class today. So I am Kranth, and I will be teaching you more classes. Thank you so much.